I realized that it's just the end of October, and I definitely don't want to feed into the holiday consumerism and overconsumption that happens all around the world. However, I am realizing that if I'm planning on doing any gift knitting for Christmas this year, I need to get started. Like, I should have been working on it throughout the entire year. That is the reality of it. But since I did not do that, I need to get started. And so I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to present to you 25 free knitting patterns that I think would make great, awesome holiday gifts. Hello friends, my name is Amber and this is a Lovely Yarn podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. We are going to discuss 25 different patterns that I found on Ravelry. These are all knitting patterns. They are all free and they are all they're all smaller. They're smaller gifts because we're down to the wire. I know Christmas is not until the end of December, but it's the end of October. That doesn't leave a lot of time for knitting gifts. And so these projects are going to be smaller projects. None of them that I can remember use fingering weight yarn, at least not without holding it double. I think most of them are DK weight yarn and above because these need to be quick. They need to be easy or somewhat easy. And they also need to be really adorable and something that I would actually want to receive for a Christmas gift. Those were my parameters for this list. So stick around and we are going to get started. 25 free knitting patterns that I think would make awesome Christmas gifts. Okay, just because I know people are going to ask, I will tell you up front, this is the Drama sweater. This is a pattern by Jennifer Steingass, and I knit this using Drops Air in the color 02, which is the natural color, and then number 45, which is the blue color. You can hear all about this in episode 95 of my podcast. That's where I talked in more detail about that. I will try to remember to link that down below. Also, all of the patterns that I discuss will be linked down below. You can click through to a Ravelry bundle. I may also include just individual links to individual patterns as well, but you can find all that information down below, as well as where you can find me on other social media platforms. And I think that's pretty much all. Let's just get started. So here is the little caveat. These are free patterns, so I cannot guarantee that they have been test knitted and that they are the best written patterns out there. However, when I was choosing these particular patterns, I did look to see how many projects people had actually made and posted on Ravelry. And so I feel like all of them had 50 projects or above, and some had several hundred, some had several thousand. So I just want to be upfront about that. I have actually not knit any of these patterns except for one, and I will be showing you my finished project when we get to that one. I have divided this up into I've divided this up into 6 different categories. We've got mittens, we've got hats, we've got cowls, and then we've got like smaller scarves, and then socks, and we're going to round it out with items for your home or just like more of a miscellaneous category. Let's start with our hands. So let's start with the mittens. And this first pattern that I found is by Virginia Burrow. It is called the Silk Garden Fingerless Mitts. She actually knit these particular mittens using Noro Silk Garden, which is, I guess, where she got the name from for this pattern. Or she said you can use any Aran weight yarn. I think that the Noro Silk Garden is beautiful. I've never actually used any Noro yarns. I know they are on the pricier end. So I looked at a couple like substitutes that you could use. And I think Red Heart Unforgettable and Red Heart Roll with it might give similar like vibes to the ones that she knit with the Noro, and those would definitely be more affordable and they would be washable because I'm pretty sure Red Heart makes all acrylic or acrylic blend yarns. So this comes in 2 different sizes. So there's both a ladies and a men's size, and you can use any type of yarn if you don't want to do like the color shifting in it. And these would also actually, I was thinking about this too, these would actually be really cute in a hand spun yarn. I also found this other fingerless mitt that I thought was really adorable. And this is called the Janelle, and this is by Claire Wells. It uses a bulky weight yarn. She specifically used Cascade Eco. Yeah, Cascade Yarns Eco. And it has 5 different sizes from extra small to extra large. And you're using anywhere between 100 and 200 yards of yarn, depending on what size you pick. These are chunky. They use a broken rib, which is not a hard, it's like one row of knitting, then one row of knit one, purl one. That gives you the broken rib texture. And she states it's a very easy pattern. It would be great for beginners. I thought this was really cute and wanted to include it in this list. The next 2 patterns are color work. I love color work. If you've been here for a while, you know I love color work. So the first pair is a more simple color work fingerless mitt, and it is called the Simple Fingerless Mitts. And it has an arched gusset in it. So that is included in the name of this particular pattern. And apparently an arched gusset gives a more comfortable fit. I honestly couldn't tell you. Every fingerless mitt I've ever knitted, I think, has just had a regular gusset, but I don't know that for sure. So these are knit using Aran weight yarn. She used Istex Letlopi, and you need 160 to 220 yards of your yarn. It comes in 2 different sizes. You've got a small and medium, and then you've also got the large size. And it's just a very simple color work design. So if you're not like really comfortable with color work, or if you just want a little touch of color work and not something that's overly involved, I feel like this would make a really, really good option. Now we compare that to this next pattern I found, and you're gonna see there's a big difference. So this next pattern is a lot of color work. It's definitely going to require more time and concentration on your part, but these are called the Yule Vaunton mittens, and I think they were part of a knit along in 2024 is what I was gathering from the Ravelry page. But that Yule Vaunton means Christmas mittens, I guess, in Swedish. So, but this is a pattern by Maha Carlson. It requires sport weight yarn, and it comes in 1 size. So this mitten was inspired by like a fairy tale landscape. It is adorable. It's so adorable. And I feel like for me to knit this for somebody, they would have to be super knit worthy, and I would have to know that they were going to know how to take care of these and also be willing to take care of them, like hand wash them and stuff, because I feel like to get these, the color work, I think you would need to use a certain type of yarn, and most superwash yarns don't make great options for color work. But if you have that one person in your life who you know is extremely knit worthy and won't mind hand washing his or her stuff, I think this might be a really special option that says, I really care for you. So this pattern features a Latvian braid. It uses 2 color stranded color work, and it has an afterthought thumb. You're going to need to pick 3 different colors of yarn for this, but you're only using 2 in the stranded color work. But aren't these just so adorable? Moving on to hats. The first pattern is called the Larch Hat, and this is a pattern by Rachel Keiselberg. It uses bulky weight yarn. It was specifically designed using Brooklyn Tweed Quarry, and you only need 50 to 170 yards of it, depending on what size, because it is written for 6 different sizes from baby up to adult large. And it's a very basic knitted hat. It's bulky weight yarn, and you're knitting a ribbing, and it has a fold over brim. So I think this would knit up super fast because it is made with such a larger weight yarn. But I think it's also basic enough that you could make this for anybody. Now, this next hat that I chose is also very basic, but to me, it was just giving off more masculine vibes, I guess I could say. And this is the 2x2. This is a pattern by Anne Gagnon. It uses worsted weight yarn. 2 yarns that were suggested for this pattern were Cascade 220 and then Mellobrigo worsted, and you need 200 yards of it. It's written as 1 size, but because it is all over ribbing, that will make your sizing more flexible. So keep that in mind when you're knitting hats or socks. So the reason I chose this, I know it's another ribbed hat, but I really like the look of the decreases that as you get further up to like the top of the hat. And again, I feel like this would be a hat I would knit for my husband or one of my sons. If you want to knit some cables, I have the perfect hat pattern for you. It is a pattern by Joji Locatelli. It is called a Twisted Affair. This hat uses bulky weight yarn. She used Woolfolk Luft, and you need under 190 yards of it. It's all over cables, and then it has the folded brim that has the 2x2 ribbing. It comes in 2 sizes, medium and large. So if you are a cable knitter, I think this would be a wonderful pattern. It's beautiful, and I think anyone receiving this would feel extra special. Every single category that I talk about in here, I think I've added in at least one pattern with color work. And this category of hats is no exception. So this next pattern is the Arrows hat, and it is a pattern by Laura McCod. It is knit using DK weight yarn, and it has that arrow color work motif on it. I think that that is really nice. It reminds me of like the flying geese quilt pattern. I've seen this particular motif in other designs as well, and I really like it. This pattern comes in 7 different sizes from baby to adult extra large, which is lovely, especially for a free pattern. So you could like knit one of these for everybody in the family, essentially. And it's just 2 color work. And I don't think that, I personally don't think it would be too hard to do. Like, I feel like this would be an okay project for a beginner color work knitter, because you're just knitting in the round. You may have to carry floats. I've not knitted this, so I don't know how far apart each float is, but it looks like it would probably be a decent first color work project. We're going to be moving on to cowls. Now, as I said, these are all free patterns on this episode. I'm going to talk about these free cowl patterns, and then I'm also going to reference you to my most recent episode again, which was episode 95, because I featured 5 of my favorite cowl patterns on there. But I'm pretty sure all of those but one were paid for patterns. So didn't want to feature any of those on here because I just talked about them and most of them are paid for anyway, but that is an option as well. But I wanted to offer some free suggestions to you. And the first one is the Notorious Cowl by Alida Virak. And this is a hooded cowl, which I think is super awesome. It has a larger cowl portion. Like I have seen hats or hoods like this that just have a very short neck. The reason I like this one so much is because it's longer, so it actually does act as a cowl, but then you do have the option of flipping up the hood, and so you could wear it either way, which I think is pretty awesome. It uses under 230 yards of Aran weight yarn. It's knit from the bottom up in one piece, and you're going to be using German short rows to shape the hood on that. Espace Tricot designed this next pattern, which is called the Cooler Side of Warm. It is knit with a worsted weight yarn, and you need roughly 350 yards of your yarn. It is one size, but they state in the description that it is adjustable. It is knit bottom up. You start by knitting 1 by 1 ribbing flat, and then you join to work in the round. Now, this has a split hem on the one side, which is nice because it then makes this portion that runs across your chest as well as your back lay flat. And so it's less bunchy there if you're going to wear this with a coat. Another thing I liked about this is that it is the ribbing on the neck portion of it. I think it's 1 by 1 ribbing. Yeah. And you're also knitting that on a smaller needle. So that's going to kind of cinch everything in and make it tighter to your neck, which will make it warmer. Tanis Fiber Arts designed the Candy Graham cowl. Now this is a colorwork cowl, but it is not stranded. It is actually made using just slip stitches, and it is knit using worsted weight yarn. You need about 400 yards total. You need 2 high contrast colors, and it's a 4-round repeat. You're slipping stitches to get the color changes, and in the end you are going to have a fully reversible cowl to wear. In fact, she recommends on the pattern page that you wear it kind of flipped or folded down over so that you can see both sides of the cowl at the same time, and I just think that looks really cool. This last cowl that I want to talk about is called the Milky Way cowl, and it is an all-over colorwork cowl. This pattern is by Krupa Knits. It is made using Aran weight yarn, and it uses 140 to 220 yards of yarn. There is both a child and an adult size. It is stranded colorwork, so it is knit seamless and in the round. There's not a whole lot to say about this one. I just think it's really beautiful, and I would probably pick it almost looks like in the pattern that they used a really like stiff yarn. I would probably try to pick a yarn that was going to give a little bit more slouch if I were going to personally make this. Small scarves have been quite the rage for the last couple of years. And for me, I really like them. I have always been a scarf wearer, like not designer scarves, but like fashion scarves that you tie around your neck and they look really cute. Like I've been wearing those for years. And so I actually really like this small scarf trend that's happening right now. So now I want to talk about, I think I have 5 small scarves. I have 4 small scarves that I want to talk about. The first one is called the Mini Scarf Pearl. This is a pattern by Veronica Strongkiss. It is Aran weight yarn. You only need 164 yards. She specifically designed this to be used with Drops Air, which is one of my favorite yarns to knit garments with, which is what this sweater is knit out of. This pattern comes in one size, and it's knit in the moss stitch the whole way across. Now this pattern, as well as I think all of them, you're going to be knitting tip to tip rather than like top to bottom or bottom to top, because these are all long, narrow scarves. Then we have the Louise EO6. This is by Lamana, and this is a one size scarf knitted with DK weight yarn, about 175 yards of it. And I chose this one because it has that really sweet lace border, and I love that. I think that's a very nice feminine touch. This pattern actually also is available in a larger version. I did not look into that because the pattern page did not provide a direct link. It just said to check out the larger version if you're interested. So I think you can just go to Lamana's Ravelry page and find it there. The other nice thing about this scarf is that it has a nice polished I-cord edging. Up next, this pattern is called the Pink Panther. It is by Gretchen Seol. It is definitely more of a simple looking side-to-side scarf, which is a-okay with me. It's garter. It's got lots of garter, and I love garter. Garter is one of my favorite things because, well, first of all, it's really easy to knit when you're knitting flat because you just knit every row. But then also, I love how squishy it is. So this looks like a very lovely squishy scarf. But it is knit with DK weight yarn, and she says you can use lace and fingering. You can just use plain DK weight. She said she also used 2 lace weights held together, 2 mohair lace weights held together, and got a really fuzzy scarf. But it is knit, the pattern is written for one size, and it uses 410 to 425 yards. Now, the thing I like about this is not only is there lots of wonderful squishy garter in this, but then you have these pretty dainty eyelet rows interspersed throughout the scarf. And so I think that adds a nice little, something different to look at, and then just ups the cuteness of this scarf. Okay, the last little scarf I want to talk about is the Pressed Flowers kerchief. It's by Amy Christophers, and this is the one that I actually knit. So I will show you mine. Isn't this just so very darling? So this pattern is knit using DK weight yarn, and you're using a little bit over 200 yards. There is only one size that this pattern is written for, but she does state on the page that you can adjust the size quite easily. This is also knit side to side, and it is mosaic color work, which means you're slipping stitches to get the different colors. And so it's all over mosaic, and then it has the little flowers as the border. And because these colors are not super high contrast, you don't see that very clearly, but this is really cute, and it is a neckerchief, so it's more of one that you would just wear like this. And isn't that adorable? Okay, let's move to feet and to socks. These are all DK weight, at least, because for me, fingering weight socks, although I can knit a pair of fingering weight socks quickly if I really set my mind to it, I don't necessarily do that very often, nor do I necessarily enjoy it. So these are DK weight, and actually the first one, they're more slippers than socks. They're called the Jamma slippers, and they are by My Jamma Knits. They use super bulky. So this pattern calls for worsted held double. And it comes in 6 sizes from toddler to adult extra large. So this is another one of those patterns that you can knit a pair for everyone in the family. These are a great scrap buster because you actually marl your yarn together. She states, you know, you're holding worsted double. I mean, you could knit with just a super bulky, but I feel like it's way more fun to marl yarns and hold 2 worsted weight yarns double. And you know, you can even change them throughout. So you have like really scrappy looking slippers. But there weren't a lot of details on the Ravelry page. So I downloaded the pattern and took a look at it. And it looks like these are knit flat. And then you seam everything together at the end. I did not knit them. So, you know, I just skimmed the pattern, but I do want to make you aware of that. But it is free. So if you download it and you look at it and you're like, no, not for me. But I was looking at the Ravelry project pages and people were saying, oh, this is super easy. I think the designer even said that these would be great for a beginner knitter. Up next, we have the Biscuit Socks by Fluffy Fibers. DK weight yarn, you need 275 to 325 yards. It's written for 2 different sizes. I don't know what sizes those are, but I'm going to assume they're both adult sizes, just one's going to be larger than the other. So these are knit cuff down. There is a heel flap and gusset. It specifically uses a Dutch heel, which I'm not sure what that is. I don't know that I've ever done that before. And then you do a star toe, and these socks they're all textured and they're really cozy looking. Our last pair of socks are called the Slow Morning DK. This is a pattern by Camille Heng. It again uses DK weight yarn. You're using 220 to 330 yards of it. It comes in 3 different sizes, small, medium, and large. And these are also cuff down. They're 2x2 ribbing, which keep in mind that's going to give some flexibility in your sizing. And then their heel is made using a short row heel. This last section is a little bit of a miscellaneous section. There's some home goods in here, and then there's just some other fun things that I thought, oh yeah, that'd be fun to get. So first up, we're going to talk about the Lizard Ridge Coasters. This is a pattern by Laura Ayler, and it uses worsted weight yarn and size US 8 or 5mm needles. And basically these are a felted coaster. But the thing that makes these unique is that it's a square shape, but you're not just knitting back and forth and getting like a garter. You're actually using short rows to make these ridges, like ridge designs. So I suppose that this would be most effective if you used a color shifting yarn to do this. But even if you used a solid, you would still be able to see like the ridges and everything. So it would be fine as well. But you would have to use a yarn that is not superwash. So keep that in mind because you want these to felt. And so you're going to have to use a more rustic yarn or a yarn that is not treated, you know, to be superwash. In the fall and winter, I drink hot tea very frequently. And there are times I will make a whole pot and I will fill it up. And I would love to have a little tea cozy to put on my teapot just to keep it warm a little bit longer. So I found this really cute pattern. It's very simple. I wanted something simple, and I feel like this really fit the bill for that. It is made using under 100 yards of bulky weight yarn. It fits your standard 4-cup teapot, and you can easily adjust the size. So it's really, really simple. You start at the bottom, you work your way up, and you do your decreases. This might be the only pattern that's not a downloadable PDF, but you actually have to go to a blog and get the pattern from there. But it's really cute. And I like the yarn that she chose for this, like the color changing yarn. I think that makes it really interesting in sweet looking. This next pattern is for the cutest little pair of felted bowls, and this is called the Fairmont Felted Bowls. This is a pattern by Nancy Eckville. She wrote this for Blue Sky Fibers, and she wrote it using their wool stock bundles. Now, I have seen these bundles at several different yarn stores. In fact, I just saw them when we were in North Carolina and when I visited the Salty Sheep yarn store in Swansboro. And every time I've seen these, I have thought, I love these. They're so adorable, but what would I do with them? Now I wish I would have bought one when I was in Swansboro because these bowls are so cute. Anyway, you knit these bowls with 2 strands of this yarn held double, and you can get 2 bowls out of one of these bundles, according to the Ravelry project page. And there's a small bowl and there's a large bowl. So you're knitting these, and then in the end, you're going to felt them. So similar to the coasters that I talked about earlier, you're going to be felting these bowls. So if you do not use the bundles that this project is, or that this pattern is written for, just make sure you're using yarn that is going to felt. So no superwash yarn. I love my hot water bottle. My husband calls my hot water bottle my like bed buddy or something weird like that. I take it to bed with me every night. And I did knit a pattern or a cover for it. The cover that I knit was a pattern by Laura Penrose, but it is a paid for pattern, but it is super cute. I will link it down below just in case you're interested in that. But I do have 2 free hot water bottle knitted covers here that I'm going to talk about. And the first one is the Fisherman's Hottie Sweater. This is a pattern by Sarah Hangsman, and it uses DK weight yarn, 175 yards of it. She specifically used Garn Studio Drops Lima, and this was inspired by the fisherman's sweaters, like the traditional fisherman's sweaters. So it's got double moss stitch, it's got broken rib, it has the diamond cable going up the center. And she said, you do not need a cable needle to do that cable. So this is a really cute cabled cozy. Then, because I love color work, look at this adorable cover. This is called the Snowfall Town Hot Water Bottle Cover, and this pattern is by Season Chin. It is knitted with DK weight yarn. You need about like a little under 400 yards of yarn. This is just the most adorable, whimsical little color work scene for a hot water bottle cover. I love it. I want to make one for myself, actually. Even though I already have one, it would be superfluous, so I'm not going to, but oh, it's so, so cute. Okay, and the last pattern, and this one is for the fun of it. This is Poppy the chicken, and look how adorable. This kind of reminds me of the chicken that everyone was making that I cannot for the life of me think of what that was called. It was trending, but this is a smaller version. Not exactly like that, but kind of similar. So this is a pattern by Jessica Reeves Potaz. It's knit with super bulky yarn. You only need 50 yards to make one of these. And she used Woolly's Thick and Quick. And she said that okay, so I think you must have to go to a blog. So this is another one of those patterns that you have to go to a blog to actually get the instructions on how to make it. But on the blog, she includes photos to help you through all the various steps. And so what you do on this is you start knitting flat, and that makes the bottom of your chicken. And then at some point you start knitting in the round and you knit upwards. But this is just so cute. I mean, I would like to receive this as a gift as an adult. And so I don't know, I think it would just bring smiles to some people in your life, and then to give it to a little kiddo too would be super cute as well. And that wraps it up for the 25 free gift knitting patterns that I have for you this year. Thank you for joining me today for this video. Perhaps you found a pattern or 2 that you can include in your gift knitting this season. And if you're interested in hearing about even more free gift knitting patterns, I did a video last November, I believe it was, where I featured 60 other free knitting patterns. So none of those were discussed in today's video, so I will link that down below as well. Thanks again for joining me, and if you like this video, you can give it a thumbs up, please, and consider subscribing to my channel if you enjoy my content and you haven't already subscribed. So until next time, enjoy your knitting, and I will see you all again soon. Goodbye.